tell your battles that you have a big God. There is a simple rule of life. Let me tell you about it. The rule says that whatever thing you focus on becomes more evident in your life. If you focus on your problems, they become your only focus. Same way, if you choose to focus on God, God becomes your only focus. This is because wherever your attention goes, that is where your energy goes. According to the Bible, a man is as his thoughts are in his heart, Proverbs 23:7. As a result, the law of focus is a strong force that shapes our experience. You might start to see why you might have been emotionally caged for an extended period of time, throughout the turbulent and upsetting past events in your life, or for someone else in your circle of friends. My dear friend, the journey of life is punctuated with battles and challenges. However, the key to perpetual victory lies in understanding and applying the law of focus on God. This law asserts that where you direct your attention, energy, and faith will ultimately fill and define your life. The path to long-lasting victory in the face of temporal difficulties is to concentrate our eyes on the omnipotent, unchanging God. You must know that battles are temporary, but the God we serve is eternal. Focusing on God doesn't deny the existence of challenges. Rather, it shifts the perspective. Immerse yourself in the character, promises, and sovereignty of God, and declare that your battles are not bigger than your God. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Psalm chapter 121, verse 1 and 2. This psalm encapsulates the essence of focusing on God in the midst of challenges. A conscious decision to shift your gaze from the size of your battles to the greatness of your God. God is bigger than any battle. Focusing on God amidst challenges. These powerful points will help you keep your eyes and focus on God. First, Peter walking on water with Jesus. Keeping your eyes fixed on God provides you with a lifeline, a source of strength, and a road to foreseeable victories over life's storms. The story of Peter walking on water serves as a moving example of this truth. As long as his gaze was fixed on Jesus, the impossible became possible. So it is with you in these strange seasons of life as well. Jesus invited him into a reality he had never known before. The fact that Peter accepted the invitation is his first admirable act. Jesus called him over even though he knew that wild winds inevitably arise in the middle of such large rivers. Similarly, God always foresees all that could possibly happen and provides for your victory over any difficult circumstances, whether they are new seasons He invites us into or painful events that happen to us but are not brought on by Him. But as soon as he turned his attention to the roaring waves, his strength vanished and he began to sink. And this sums up exactly what happens to us when we start focusing on the difficulties rather than keeping our hurt or afraid hearts fixed on Jesus, allowing Him to give us the strength to consistently overcome these difficulties should they ever come up again. Peter's story shows how sensitive focus is. It is a physical force that will change results as well as a spiritual discipline. When confronted with difficulties, it's easy to let the tangible proof of failure consume you. Nonetheless, the spiritual truth is that keeping our focus on God can bring about foreseeable victories. And it's never too late to turn your attention back to God, because even after Peter sank, Jesus reached out to him, and they both proceeded to go back onto the boat by walking on the water. If you would turn your attention back to Jesus, you can take advantage of the victory He has to provide over any obstacle. Glory to God. Secondly, the Daniel paradigm, knowing your God. They that know their God shall be strong, Daniel 11:32. David, a shepherd boy turned giant slayer, embodied this principle. His confidence wasn't in his own might or the apparent prowess of Goliath. Rather, it stemmed from an intimate knowledge of his God. Focusing on God transforms weakness into strength and adversity into opportunity. It is the purest form of gaining strength and stability for life. Spending time learning about God's nature, sovereignty, and promises strengthens you and lets joy reign even in the midst of pain. A hopeful attitude will come from knowing that God will never let your suffering be in vain. These were David's remarks to intimidate Goliath when he met him in one of the most incredible victories recorded in human history. Then David said to the Philistine, "You come to me with a sword, with a spear, and with a javelin. But I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you and take your head from you. And this day I will give the carcasses of the camp of the Philistines to the birds of the air and the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel." 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 45-46. In this encounter with Goliath, David made it clear who was his main target. Shepherd boy David had a lot of experience. He had faced wild creatures that no fully grown man would dare approach. But he didn't depend on that, since he understood that knowing that God was with him would give him victory even in the worst situations. He had a strong sense of God being close, and he saw no situation in which this was not applicable. This is how he once again demonstrated his winning mentality, which is evident in the other wars he fought for Israel during his reign as king. You can watch our video on God is able to turn your storm into blessings to gain more perspective. Finally, the power of words in tough seasons. Proverbs 18:20-21 says, "A man's stomach shall be satisfied from the fruit of his mouth. From the produce of his lips he shall be filled. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit." Watch what you say when you're going through a tough season. Most people like to talk about how great their problems are. Do not be like them. Instead, tell your problems that you have a big God. Your words are powerful agents of change, and most of the time, because of how we feel in our emotions, we don't feel that powerful. We may feel if we were that powerful. The problem shouldn't have come our way in the first place. Instead of magnifying the problems, declare the magnitude of our God. Speaking faith-filled words in the face of adversity is a bold proclamation that our problems are dwarfed by the greatness of our God. Say words like, "I have a very big God who is always on my side." There's nothing too hard for God. God is making a way. God is working something out. I may be going through this challenge, but my victory is already certain, because God has never lost a fight. I will stand still and know that God is God. The battle is the Lord's. Declaring these faith-filled words keeps you focused on God and makes His abilities bigger in your mind. This makes your heart ready to receive the victory God has prepared for you in the midst of the trying time. Perpetual victory. The ultimate blessing of focusing on God. You have to understand that, despite the fact that obstacles are unavoidable due to things like the enemy's tendency to raise his ugly head, poor decisions we've made, or our sheer fear of stepping into the unknown, we can consistently triumph in any circumstance for every day of our life. This is a situation where I win every time, not one where we win some and lose some. We never lose anything that cannot be given back to us, no matter what we go through or lose in life, as long as we do not lose our identity in God, our love, peace, power, joy, and sound mind. We remain winners and 1,000 steps ahead of the enemy. If these things remain intact, regardless of how the event plays out, this profound truth is vividly illustrated in the life of David, who emerged victorious in all 66 battles he faced. Adversity was nothing new to David, the shepherd who rose to become king. His road was filled with challenges, from facing the enormous Goliath to negotiating the tricky environment of kingship. However, consistent victories were the thread that wove itself deliberately through his life. His steadfast concentration on God was the immediate result of this. His victories weren't one-off events. Rather, they created a consistent story of beating what seemed like insurmountable obstacles. David's life serves as an example of the idea that persistent victory depends more on maintaining an unshakable focus on God than it does on the presence of obstacles. Beyond the ups and downs of life's obstacles, the law of focus on God functions as a spiritual constant. Problems might not go away, but when one's eyes are concentrated on God, they lose their ability to control the outcome. David's triumphs were from his deep realization that the Lord ultimately owned the war, not only from his military strength, perpetual victory is the promise that calls us on our own road. It's not a guarantee of a trouble-free life, but rather a reassurance that our focus and dependence on God will enable us to overcome any obstacles. We must enjoy making God bigger than anything we go through. This way, we walk through life as consistent winners. Let me wrap this up by encouraging you that it's crucial to anchor our hearts in the unwavering truth that God is not just with us. He's for us. As echoed in Hebrews 13:5, His abiding presence is our constant assurance, a rock on which we can stand amidst life's tests. God is constant. Trials come and go, but battles are temporary. Come to terms with the fact that God is still the unwavering hero in the larger story of your life. The main topic is God's faithfulness, and every obstacle and conflict is only a subplot. As the struggles of life unfold, we must adjust our perspective. Difficulties are not a sign of failure. Rather, they are a sign that your opponent sees your potential. I implore you to view every hardship as a chance for God to reveal His glory. I implore you to be strong and trust that the Lord is winning the battle rather than giving up. Though you may not see it or feel like it, believe what the Word says in Psalms 46, verse 10, which says, God says, "Stop fighting and know that I am God. I am the one who defeats the nations. I am the one who controls the world." Remind yourself of your elevated status as well. You are seated with Christ in heavenly places. This perspective lifts you above the chaos of everyday struggles and gives you an understanding of heaven. Every conflict presents an opportunity to make your place in Christ real. Remember this triumphant statement as you maneuver through life's floods. My battles are temporary, but God is constant. This is where you will always discover the constant guarantee of victory. You remain unaffected by challenges because they serve as opportunities for God to demonstrate His faithfulness. God bless you. You have a big God, and He is always on your side. If you have been blessed by this message, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You are blessed.